Since the very beginning of cinema, movies have faced the unwieldy hammer of state censorship. Whether it was Birth of a Nation being banned in municipalities across the US for racism, or All Quiet on the Western Front getting the axe in Germany for being anti-war, governments have always tried to control what their citizens watch. And of course, different governments go to different lengths, ranging from the US, where we're fortunately protected from national bans by the First Amendment, all the way to Uganda, where all films were banned from 1972 until '79. I'm Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember? And today we're looking at some of the most banned movies from the decade with some of the most forbidden films around. The 1970s. Whether because of extreme violence, perceived sexual perversion, or direct affronts to God, countries around the world stopped their citizens from seeing these movies. And to help us get seen, be sure to hit that thumbs up icon and subscribe to the channel for more. But now, let's peer into the prohibited. Last Tango in Paris. One of the most artistically respected movies ever made, from one of cinema's most talented directors, featuring arguably the greatest actor of all time. Surely this doesn't describe one of the most banned movies from the 70s, right? Oh, but it does. When Last Tango in Paris was released in 1972, it immediately incited a firestorm of protest due to the movie's graphic sexuality, including an unscripted rape scene in which Marlon Brando uses butter as lubricant, and the reportedly unhealthy work environment on set. The film's frank depictions of sexual violence didn't go down well in much of the world, and the film was banned in places as varied as Brazil, South Korea, Portugal, and Argentina. Even director Bernardo Bertolucci's home country of Italy got in on the act. After just 1 week in theaters, the Italian Supreme Court ordered all copies of the movie destroyed. And Bertolucci had his civil rights revoked for 5 years. Yeesh. Pink Flamingos.
These are obviously jealous people, jealous of our careers, of all of our press. Why else would they sign that, the filthiest people alive?
Pencil-mustached auteur John Waters is best known these days for his late 80s hit musical Hairspray, but the director rose to fame in the 70s with a series of underground movies made to shock and horrify the viewer. This combative filmmaking came to a head with 1972's camp classic Pink Flamingos, the plot of which reads like a direct challenge to censors. Famous drag queen Divine is the self-proclaimed filthiest person alive, until a couple of small-time crooks show up at her trailer to try and outdo her in debauchery. A series of increasingly revolting scenes ensues, involving everything from vomiting to rape and incest, cannibalism and castration, culminating in Divine eating actual dog feces as How Much Is That Doggy in the Window plays in the background. Unsurprisingly, censors around the world didn't exactly take to Waters' work, and the film was banned in Australia, Norway, Canada, and hilariously enough, Orange County, Florida for a remarkable 25 years. In the realm of the census, a collaboration between some of the brightest cinema minds in France and Japan, In the Realm of the Senses was originally intended for a wide mainstream theatrical release, but then people actually saw the film, and well, that did not happen. The movie is about a hotel owner who falls for one of his maids, and the two engage in increasingly radical sexual experimentation until the maid discovers that strangling her lover is what excites her most. This naturally leads to the death of the hotel owner during sex, followed by the maid castrating him and leaving his penis inside her for several days. Classic mainstream fare. Oh, and did I mention that most of the sex scenes were unsimulated? Wow, I mean, that's not gonna fly in a lot of places. In the Realm of the Senses was banned in Belgium, Australia, Brazil, and even its native Japan. A Clockwork Orange.
I'm singing in the road, just singing in the road.
while today regarded as a fantastic work of art that focuses on important themes of juvenile delinquency and psychiatry. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange was greeted more with horror and revulsion upon its release in 1971. Maybe it was the depictions of gangs of youths drinking psychedelic-laced milk and then going on rampages of ultra-violence, including rape and the violent beating to death of people with plastic dildos. The problem was people feared that kids would commit copycat crimes, leading to this movie being one of the most banned films of the decade. South Korea, South Africa, Malaysia, Singapore, Canada, Ireland, and Brazil all forbade the droogs being shown on screen. Kubrick himself even asked that the film be banned in the UK after his family were tormented by explicit death threats, and the ban there wasn't lifted until the director's death in 1999. An interlude with the Soviet Union. Now, you might think that an oppressive communist regime like the Soviet Union would be near the top when it comes to banning movies. But all in all, the Eastern monolith forbade very few movies, especially compared to some countries. I'm looking at you, Singapore. However, the Soviet Union did make several interesting choices during the 70s when it came to keeping certain movies out, specifically The Godfather and Star Wars. Yep, that's right. Two of the most revered, most artistically triumphant movies of the decade were not shown in the Soviet Union. The Godfather ostensibly for glorifying criminals. Although since The Godfather Part 2 remained unbanned, I assume Brezhnev was more of a fan of De Niro than Brando. And Star Wars because, I do not know, lightsabers or something. What a wild place. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is now rightly considered to be a masterpiece, with director Tobe Hooper almost single-handedly inventing the slasher genre and changing the way horror movies were made for the next 50-odd years. But when it was released in 1974, the tale of a family of cannibals, including Leatherface, a mute who wore a mask of human skin, torturing and murdering a group of lost youths, proved too shocking and horrific for a whole host of countries. If you wish to be terrorized by the menacing revs of a chainsaw in the 70s, hopefully you didn't live in Western Europe, as the movie was banned in Sweden, the UK, West Germany, Norway, France, Finland, and Iceland, as well as the usual Brazil and Singapore, making it all in all one of the most banned movies of the decade. Pretty Baby. 1978's Pretty Baby tells the story of New Orleans prostitute Hattie, played by Susan Sarandon, and her 12-year-old daughter Violet. Violet becomes enamored of an adult photographer taking pictures of the women in the brothel, and soon engages in a sexual relationship with him. So it's a 12-year-old having sex with an adult. Yep, it's problematic enough. But the film's subject matter becomes much worse when you realize that Violet was played by Brooke Shields, who was actually 12 years old during filming. And Shields had numerous nude scenes in the film, and several on-screen kisses with the 29-year-old actor playing her lover. These graphic depictions of a nude child engaging in sex scenes with an adult obviously ran afoul of certain censors, and the movie was banned in Canada, Argentina, and South Africa. Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Do you mind? I can't hear a word he's saying. I think it was Blessed Are the Cheesemakers.
Ah, finally, a movie not banned for graphic sex or violence, but instead just some good old-fashioned blasphemy. England's revered comedy troupe Monty Python were already known for pushing the envelope on their TV show Flying Circus, and now their movies like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which we just did a cast then and now for, so definitely check that one out. But with 1979's Life of Brian, they pushed things a little bit too far for some countries. The movie depicted the fictional life of Brian Cohen, a man born on the same day as and next door to Jesus, who then gets mistaken for the Messiah. A brilliant religious satire, the movie mocked the Christian faith a bit too much in the eyes of some censors, and the film was banned in Ireland, Norway, Italy, and South Africa. And so of course the group leaned into this. Promotional posters for the movie in Sweden read, quote, "So funny it was banned in Norway." Saulo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. Oh Okay, yep, that checks out. Sounds like a movie that got banned. Oh, it's based on the work of the same name by the Marquis de Sade. It depicts 4 wealthy, corrupt Italian fascists who kidnap 18 youths and, over the course of 4 months, subject them to extreme violence, sadism, and graphic sexual and psychological torture. While ostensibly about political corruption, consumerism, and authoritarianism, viewers struggle to move past the overt and frankly horrifying depictions of violence. And the film is one of the most controversial of all time. Banned not only in the usual suspects of Italy, Australia, the UK, and Singapore. Salo is also banned in Iran, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and many of these bans still remain in place today. And there they are, how scandalous. These were the most banned movies of the 1970s. So now we want to know, how many of these films have you actually seen? Which ones would you not come near with a 10-foot pole? Which 1970s film should have been banned? Let us know in the comments below, we read them all. And before you go, please hit that thumbs up icon and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And as always, from all of us here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you for watching.